Good morning, everybody. So in the last video, I said that I didn't want to let illness slow me down with how hard I'm working on videos, right? But it did. As of the writing and recording of this, I am 3 days behind schedule and will likely be a few more until the rough cut of the video is done. I hope I'll only be a week behind schedule because I think that's fine. 3 weeks on a video is a lot better than what I was doing before, at least. Work is progressing though. I'm writing the script proper now after finishing all my notes. With my notes, I try to be really thorough because when trying to piece the lore or even story together, it's easy to miss a single thing that changes the context of everything else. Like for example, in Me-Side, the final twist, when I played through the first time, the final twist where, well, I won't spoil it, but there's a little bit of a twist at the end, and going through and taking my notes, I realized that it's actually teased a few times throughout the whole game. And that's something I wouldn't have known unless I went through and was really thorough, like looking at the dialogue. And well, it's probably not that. This one probably isn't that hard to miss. Me-Side isn't a super deep game compared to other things, right? So usually what I do is after I take my notes, I record all the extra footage I think I'll need, and then I do the script. But this time I'm not doing that for a couple of reasons. The first one is that Me-Side is very linear, and I already saw like 99% of it. And anything I didn't see is on the wiki. And I know how bad that sounds. More uses the wiki to write his scripts, and that's not what I mean. In Me-Side, there's a bunch of character lore items that unlock like a paragraph of backstory when you go back to the main menu, and I missed a couple of those. So it's not that different from like a book in Fear and Hunger or an item description in Dark Souls. So you don't really need the context for most of them, and you don't lose any context just by looking up what the thing says on the wiki, and you don't need the footage of them on the screen anyway. So it's not like I had the entire game recorded, including the extra endings, and there's just when I'm going to go back and re-record, it's just going to be alternate angles and making sure I get the right things that I know I'll need now. Because when you play through the first time, you're just playing through, right? You're just sort of naturally feeling what's happening. But then when I go through and I take my notes and I get a good idea of what I actually want in the video, then I'm like, okay, well, I need to focus on this thing. There's actually photo mode in the game, which is really handy for me because that way I can get better shots. So I'm like, all right, well, I want to get a photo mode shot of this one thing when this happens, and and the other reason is that I can't record it yet. Right now, Me-Side is currently locked in Christmas mode. That will apparently end in a day or two, but there's snow and Christmas lights and Christmas hats everywhere. So, I kind of don't want that in my video, and it's either find a way to download an old version or just wait for an extra day or two. I'm just gonna wait. It's fine. Okay. So today's topic, numbers. I wanted to take a look at the Pocketcat video numbers today because I haven't done a deep dive on a specific video for a little while, and I like doing it. So as it stands right now, it hit 100K in 2 weeks and a day, 15 days. Pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. So it's clear that it was a well-received video, but it's far from my best. And like not even counting like the viral, the really, really big videos. It's clear that this was far from my best. So I wanted to see why that was. Last video, I talked about how my videos over the last year performed, and I'll be referring to that a little bit because it gave us something really useful, a whole bunch of averages that YouTube doesn't give you easily. So I removed any non-Fear and Hunger videos from the spreadsheet because it's not super useful to compare them, and they have different audiences. Or that's not quite the right way to put it. My Fear and Hunger videos are my consistent audience, but my non-Fear and Hunger videos will usually get the people who already watch me plus more. So they're slightly different audiences, so I thought I wouldn't compare them. And just to get this out the way, the Pocketcat video was not quite rushed. Well, at the start it was rushed. The first half was rushed. I worked a lot faster on it than usual. It ended up a lot longer and covering more topics than I expected. And if I had more time on it, if I spent more time, especially at the start, I would have trimmed a lot. I would have cut down the script a lot, I think. But it is what it is. I don't think it's my It's far from my best script, definitely. I think my best script would probably be my logic video. I'm out of all my scripts, I'm happiest with that one. And I've talked about that before, but in general, it's because I took it to the next level. I usually, what I do is I break a script down into like a description of what's happened in the game, then analysis of what happened, connecting the dots, and then theories about why that is, and then trying to bring it all together. And what I did in the logic one was I moved as much of the analysis into the description as possible, and the whole thing flowed much better. It wasn't perfect. There was still a lot more I could have done with that, but it was the best I've made so far. And I'm keeping that in mind for future videos as well. So future videos will probably be a similar thing where as much analysis as possible is in the description of the game. So to start, YouTube always shows this box when you go into the studio page. It automatically compares your last video to, the last 9 videos, because it's 10 all up, right? From the same time frame. So for this one, by the views it got in the same time frame, so in 15 days and 1 hour, compared to my last, all the 10 videos, this was 5th, right in the middle. Views is the green, so the green checkbox here means it's on par with what you usually get. The green arrow means it's better. So the views and impressions are smack bang in the middle, right? Average view duration, I think, is a bad number to put here because that depends on how long the video is, right? So all of these numbers, and I will go into this a little bit later, but all of these numbers, there's no one number you can say this means it's a good video. You have to take them all in context, right? So views doesn't work with that. Average view duration doesn't work with that. So you've got to be really careful when looking at these stats. So Pocketcat was 5 out of 10, right in the middle. And honestly, looking at most of the other stats as well, you'll see that it is pretty average for the channel. And for the specific stats, let's start with CTR and retention, the big ones. CTR, click-through rate, as in the percentage of people who saw your thumbnail and clicked on it. 1.6 million were served this thumbnail, but only 60K clicked it. 3.5%, which is very bad for me. It's below average. It's a shame because I really like this thumbnail, but there's a saying that goes around in artistic circles, murder your darlings. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. So what I've started doing for videos is automatic A/B testing. You can upload multiple thumbnails and YouTube will swap them out to see which one results in better watch time. Naturally, I use this to make Pocketcat blink. Funnily enough, the close-eye version resulted in slightly better view time. It was like, I lost the screenshot, but it was like 1% better view time. But what I really should be doing is keeping a close eye on the click-through rate for the first couple days. And if it's below average, then try an entirely different thumbnail altogether. AVP, Alien versus Predator. No, average view percent. 34% is lower than average. Although the average is being brought higher because of the list videos like I discussed last time, and removing them, then 34% is right in line. In fact, it's higher than everything except Love and Torment, which is a weird outlier. It's even higher than my non-fear and hunger videos. Obviously, the higher the better, but I'll call this one a win, I think. There's no major dips in the retention chart, meaning there's no obviously bad parts. Honestly, I expected some of the Pocketcat speeches to lose viewers, so I'm really glad that didn't happen. I cut some of them out while editing and trimmed down the remaining ones, so there's actually some lost Law of Pocketcat content that you guys will never see because it was so boring. So again, we have a video that people seem to like, probably brought down by the thumbnail and or the title. I really need to work on my thumbnail game. This is an issue that's popped up multiple times now. So the stats for how people found this video, mostly from browse features. So that's the sub box and the home page. Only a quarter of people found it through suggested, and that's really not good. So suggested videos are the ones that show on the sidebar when you're already watching a video. Browse features are usually things from channels you've already watched, and suggested are usually new channels. So obviously as a creator, you want more views from suggested. Obviously, it's not perfect. Like, it's not just on the homepage, it's just in channels you watched before, and on suggested, it's just things you haven't watched before. It's mixed in, but it's in general, it leans towards that. So this confirms the issue my Fear and Hunger content has. It's mostly watched by people who are already fans of my channel. Now, there's 2 potential reasons for this. It might be because there's no new audience I could pull in, or it could be I'm not presenting interesting topics in interesting ways, and I think it's a mix of both. So I talked a little bit about how I think Fear and Hunger is probably oversaturated at the moment, and views will start ticking down because people just aren't as interested in it. And obviously, I'm not just saying, oh, I'm not getting better views because, I'm on the best series. I talk about it more in that one, and I'm going to talk about it a bit more now. So is it theoretically possible for someone to consistently drop videos about topics not in the zeitgeist that get fat views? Absolutely. Annie Austin, a creator I've come to really admire lately, makes wildly successful videos specifically about what people usually consider the boring minutiae of video games. So a good creator can make anything interesting. And I have undeniably gotten better at making videos on my time at YouTube, but I'm clearly not good enough to make any topic super interesting. I learned that the hard way with Analog Horror in 7 days. Improving my skills is one solution here. Improve my skills so that a new audience can appreciate the topics I'm discussing. And ultimately, that's what you do as an entertainer, is over time, you just get better at making things entertaining. That's it. That's basically the definition of it, right? But there is an easier solution, and the easier solution is to apply my presentation methods to other media, which I have already started doing to great success. So, well, more there's got to eat, right? Look, I'm still gonna work on my skills while tackling topics that naturally have a lot more interest. And look, that's the vast majority of YouTubers in general. Very few people are good enough to force people to be interested in a topic, right? So if I use the same presentation methods, so if I make a Fear and Hunger video, right, and it gets 100K, very happy with that. I want more views. More views equals more money in general. So if I can do the same presentation style with a different form of media, like, a book or another game or something like that, and get more views, get way more views in some cases, like my No, I'm Not a Human video, why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I do that? And so think of it like this. Why do you come to a channel? Do you come there because you like the topic or because you like the creator? It's the difference between people watching, say, a Fear and Hunger video or people watching a Mythonics video. Now, I do have some fans, right? So you can't tell specifically, of course, but in general, people who like my Fear and Hunger videos will watch the other things I make too. So the people who like Fear and Hunger that watch my channel are generally Mythonics fans. And another example is Nexpo, right? Any video about any topic that Nexpo drops, it's going to be a banger because he just makes good stuff. So in a way, Nexpo forces you to be interested in this particular topic. His excellent thumbnails and titles definitely help. But he's got a really unique style, and that's something I've been thinking about lately, is the idea of creators having a specific, obvious style. Nexpo style, you can immediately recognize it when you watch his videos. And I wonder if that's part of people that watch videos for you. So if, say, Mythonics had an immediate, obvious style that you knew and you could recognize from like a 5-second clip, would that make people more inclined to be Mythonics fans rather than, say, Fear and Hunger fans, No, I'm Not a Human fans, right? And that's something I'd like to work on this year, trying to develop my own style. I think that a style naturally develops as you create things. And I probably have one and I just don't know what it is. Like, does a fish know what water is, right? But I think you can lean into developing your own style. So I'm going to be trying that and keeping an eye out. It's not going to be a priority. I have other things that are going to be a priority because that's, the whole whack-a-mole style of problem fixing that I do. But we'll see. We'll see how we go. And so all that being said, a good thumbnail and title can make you interested in a specific topic. So it's a thumbnail and title is a promise, right? It's either an interesting topic or an interesting presentation of that work. That's what you promise with a good thumbnail and title. Annie Austin is good at the modern trend of a boring idea that is so boring you have to watch it. As I'm writing this, his latest video is literally called The Most Boring Place in GTA 5, and it's got 260,000 views in 7 hours. You have to click on it. Like, it's a video it's like a 15-minute video that's like the most boring place in GTA 5. Well, it's like, you're just interested in the idea, right? Or there was one that was like, how many trees are in Mario Kart Double Dash or something like that? And it's like, I kind of have to click on that. Like, why is this specific idea so interesting that it deserves, a 10-minute, 20-minute video? I need to know why it's worth a video. And so then you click on it. And that's a really interesting modern trend that I've seen popping up. I think it's super interesting. I don't know if I could pull it off. and yeah, so that's the thing, right? Thumbnail and title are a promise, but you still have to deliver. And that delivery is either the topic itself is super interesting or the delivery is. And in Annie Austin's specific case, his delivery, the way he presents it, is interesting. He's got a certain charm to him, a kind of, I suppose you could call it a childlike wonder about these certain topics, and you get sort of swept up in it. Because at the end of the day, it is a video about how the wires in GTA 5 connect to power plants. That's never going to be an interesting video by itself if you just laid the facts out. So while writing this script, I realized that my near obsession with numbers might come across as being ungrateful for the viewers I already have. And I'm not trying to speak poorly of my current audience. I think I'm doing something right if I can get tens of thousands of views on basically any video I upload. And in the grand scheme of things, very few creators will ever achieve that success. And I'm so very thankful. Every day when I pray, I thank God for all the things He's given me, and you guys are a part of that. My success is part of that. And honestly, I'm just, during one of Pocketcat's speeches, he talks about introverted artists where they make art to try and find people who are like them, who are on the same wavelength as them, and that's what I feel like I'm doing. I've never really found people who are on the same wavelength as me, and this YouTube channel helps me realize that yes, there are people who are interested in the weird things that I like and who see the world like I do, or you know what I mean. It's sappy. I've always been a bit of a perfectionist, though, is the thing, and I want to make better videos. If I can do something, I want to do it better. And sometimes it's hard to understand how to make something better. Like, what does better mean in a certain context? And my measurements of that change. And retention is a really good way of figuring out what people like about your videos and why. It's, obviously, like I said before, if you just focus on retention, you'll just end up doing list videos and want to blow your brains out. But I think a good measure of a creator's skill is putting out anything, like a video about any topic you want, and still getting like good numbers, decent numbers. And that's one of the reasons I like Nexpo so much, and other creators like Horses or Annie Austin, and Super Eye Patch Wolf. Like, sometimes he'll just randomly do a video that's like things I liked in 2024, whatever, and it still gets good numbers because he's just an entertaining guy to watch. And the simplest way to improve is to make more things, and the simplest way to make more things is to work faster. That's my priority right now, is working faster. Hence my strict deadlines, and I'm also going to be working on improving my thumbnails. I'll probably make more thumbnails, more variations in the future. And I need to go back and study what other people do for thumbnails. Work on my own video style too is the next thing. Actionable insights. That's what these videos are for here, these update videos. Actionable insights. In a way, I don't think there's that much difference between what people like Annie Austin are doing compared to lore channels. Especially in Bethesda and FromSoft games, like environmental storytelling is emphasized to varying degrees of success. Lore is just another layer that developers use to tell their stories, like environmental storytelling. We both focus on those small details that developers obviously put a lot of time into, but that most players will overlook for various reasons. There's lore heads everywhere for those with eyes to see. Thank you to all the myth heads out there for tuning into this week's episode of Mega Myth Update News. Remember, the best way to support your channel is through Patreon, where you can get your name in the credits, scripts, early previews, and even videos a week earlier than the public. Thank you again for watching. My name is Morley Doog, and remember, stay yellow.